Welcome to day 3 of Chris Shelton Week, where we talk about engagement. And we'll make it nice and quick for you guys today because I want you to digest this real quick. I want you to figure out how the engagement framework plays out in your own businesses. Are there certain parts of of the framework that are lacking in your business and in your movement? So let's go in. We know that there are 4 different parts of the engagement framework that we like to focus on. The first one being our insider identity. The next being the connection our audience has to the attractive character or to the host, to you specifically. The third thing we look at is how we are allowing our audience to shape the experience of community. And then finally, we look at the armor and the kind of cool swag that people are able to actually wear and put on and feel strong when they do. So with Chris Shelton, when we're looking at insider identity, we don't really have one. When he introduces himself, when he greets his community, he just says, "Hey, everyone." And that is like trying to sell water to the world. Yes, everyone needs to drink water, but if you're not niching down enough, then not as many people are going to listen. Some gurus will tell you that no one will listen, but that's not true. Chris clearly has a following of people, but what we want to focus on with this is making sure that our people have an identity that they can take on. Chris calls himself the critical thinker at large, and so I would recommend that he calls his people critical thinkers. Or something like that. In visibility hacking, you guys are visibility hackers. In the world of Russell Brunson, you're funnel hackers. In the world of, let's say, Catherine Jones, you're an insider or you're a design hacker. And in the world of Rhino Command, you're a rhino. In the world of, we could go on and on and on. But we want to make sure that we actually claim that name for our people. There's more to it than just claiming a name, but if you don't have that identity that your people can all rally behind, then the other parts of the identity, insider identity, are not going to play out. So make sure that you have named your people. Next, we're going to look at connection, so how our audience is able to engage with Chris himself. And as I'm looking at this, I kind of want to change it. So instead of just focusing on the call-in show, I want to talk about his Q&A show. He does 3 shows a week. One of them is the live show where people call in. We talked about that earlier this week. The second thing he does is a podcast interview, which we looked at yesterday. And then finally, he does a Q&A episode where his people are able to submit questions to him, either in the comments of previous videos or on his Twitter, on his social profiles. And then he's able to engage and answer those questions. Clearly, those questions are filtered by him, which is fine as well. It helps steer the conversation in a specific direction. When you allow your people to actually engage with you on that level, it gives you more topics to talk about. It gives you more things to create content about. It gives you more insight into the problems that your people are facing so that you can create the solutions for them. So making sure that you have that place for your people to actually engage with you. We've looked at in previous weeks at like Emily D. Baker has members only Zoom nights once a month or something like that, every couple months. And that's a fantastic way for her insiders, to people who have committed to her community, to be able to engage with her, the attractive character. So here, Chris has multiple different ways for his people to engage with him and to further the conversation. Our third part of the framework is shaping the experience. So in connection, we're looking at simply how do we make sure that our people are heard? But when we talk about shaping the experience, we're giving our people the opportunity to actually change the world around them, change and impact that community experience. And when we say that in the world of Chris Shelton, we see that he has his call-in show. And I definitely want to talk about the call-in show right now. Excuse me. So in the call-in show, people are able to, his community is able to drive the entire episode. And that's because they actually call in, they ask the questions, they have that conversation. We saw when we looked at the call-in show from the scenes framework that we also have our chat that runs on the side. Another way for our people to both connect and to shape that experience. Finally, with the engagement framework, we talk about armor. We talk about having those pieces of clothing or pins or things that people can take on so that they can show the world that they are part of your community. Chris doesn't have that. I haven't been able to find anything even close to that. So a fantastic area for him to grow his community and grow the resources he has available for them is to maybe build up a shop. You can have funny t-shirts, you can have, oh, actually, no, he does have a Teespring. He does have a Teespring. So people are able to engage in that level. They are able to wear his shirts with his funny swag on it and whatnot. But I would recommend that he takes that off of Teespring or keeps it on Teespring, whatever, but moves it to a separate funnel system, because that way he'd be able to actually make a little bit more money off of it. Right now, he's leaning very heavily on the partnership between YouTube and Teespring, where everyone's getting a little cut of that. If he were to move it to a separate platform and build his own e-commerce page, or better yet, build it as separate funnels just for his insider community, just for his people themselves, because right now, Teespring and what's available that way, if you watch his channel and you just click those links, that isn't necessarily insider swag. That's available for everyone. But what would be really neat is if he created separate pieces of armor that he was able to sell through a funnel just to his insider community. But the thing is, he's not building an email list right now. He's not focusing on building the community on the back end. When you have community, you can do two things. You can have your community be public facing, and you can have your community be behind a paywall or behind some kind of a wall, right? So a public facing group would be a free Facebook group that they can join, or a YouTube channel that they can subscribe to and they can participate in the comments and things like that. There aren't extra perks for it. It's open to anyone, right? And then on the other side, you have things that are behind paywalls or things that are within community groups themselves, right? So that is where I think Chris should go in the next direction, because he has so much fantastic content that he could curate and place into a vault, for example. Give that access with a really well-designed search function, for example. So they're not having to go through thousands of videos on his YouTube channels, plural channels, but instead he has the best of things curated inside of a vault, for example. And then from there, he has a list of people who are part of that community, and he can then start sending different funnels to them to try and pique their interest and drive them deeper and deeper into his community. But of course, that takes a little extra work. It takes a little extra, maybe even an extra team member or two, but it's absolutely, absolutely worth it. Absolutely.